Hi everyone, this is Dan Rourke from the Distance Learning Recording Arts Department at Manhattan School of Music. And what I'm going to be going over in this video is the Zoom application that we're going to be using to connect and have online classes with students. All right, so really quickly, some of the things that we're going to be going over today, we're going to be talking about signing in with your account into the desktop application and launching the desktop application. We talk about finding your meeting and launching your meeting so that students can connect. Today I'm going to be going over basic audio settings. This is just getting you up and running with really well, say, speech audio. So if you're teaching classes, things of that nature, if you want to share audio from your laptop, this audio is going to work for that. For more advanced audio, I'm going to make a separate video where we're going to go over being able to get into some of the more advanced settings within Zoom to improve the stereo audio for things like lessons. So look for that video separately. We're also going to go over managing participants today. We're going to be talking about the chat. We're going to talk about how to record your video. And then we're also going to be talking about sharing your screen, which I think is one of the coolest features in Zoom. You can actually share your screen locally with your students or whoever you're connecting with so that you can have a PowerPoint on your screen. You can go through it like you would in your class. You can have PDFs, so you can bring up a PDF of a score where you can annotate it. Students can annotate it simultaneously. You can do music playback from any audio program, really, iTunes, Windows Media Player, and we're going to go over working with a shared Word document. All right, let's get started. And I'm just going to start the Zoom app. And I'm going to sign in. And once you're in the program, you're going to see that it brings you to this window that has a couple tabs up at the top. You have contacts, meetings, a chat, and the home page. On the home page, you can start a new meeting, you can join a meeting, you can schedule ones, or you can start sharing your screen. Maybe the more important tab would be the meetings tab. This is where if you have your classes, if you've set those up, they'll be here and you'll be able to find them. So what I've done already is found or created a recording arts class and create a recording arts meeting that my students should already have this link and be able to connect to once I start that meeting. And so we can start here. And if I hit start, you're going to see automatically it immediately connects to the video. Be aware of that the video starts basically as soon as you connect. And then I can hit what sort of audio source I want. It's no one can hear me yet. So I'm going to say join with computer audio for now. Now, if this is your first time connecting with Zoom, what you're going to want to do is check what audio settings you have set up. Whether it's using the built-in microphone of your laptop, whether you're using an outboard microphone, whether you're using a headset, you definitely want to check and test those things before you start your class. And the way to do that is down here, you'll find this mute button, so I can mute my audio in Zoom, which is useful if, say, you have a student presenting and you don't want noise, extraneous noise from your background getting into it. There's also a menu here that I can select. And it's going to open up a whole bunch of options. We're going to ignore almost all of them because what we're going to go into is we're going to go into the audio settings down here. And so if I click on audio settings and give it a moment, you'll see it brings me to the larger settings window, specifically the audio tab of that window, where I'm going to be able to test both the output from Zoom and my microphone input. And this is something you're going to want to do the very first time you connect with Zoom. After that, it should pretty much be set. So once we get this configured, afterwards, you pretty much just want to test it when you come in, but for the most part, you shouldn't have to really change anything. First thing I can do is make sure I'm getting output from Zoom, so I can hit test speaker. And all right, I can hear that. You have a volume slider here, so I can make it louder if I need to. I think about 50% was good. If you can't hear that, there might be a couple of reasons. You want to check the drop down here, and you'll be able to see that there's a few different output options. And so the ones for me here are the built-in output of my computer. I can also send it to my secondary monitor or my interface here, my audio interface. For now, I'm just going to use the built-in output. And you can see it says in parentheses headphones because I have headphones plugged in. And that I would recommend very strongly. Do not use the speaker output, or try to avoid speakers if you can and wear headphones. The reason being that speakers are going to create an echo for whoever you're speaking with on the other side. You can imagine if that there's 20 students in your class and they're all connecting and none of them are wearing headphones, there's going to be a lot of echo. There is built-in echo cancellation in the software, but it's better just to avoid that altogether and make sure you're always wearing headphones. All right, after you know you have output and you can hear audio from Zoom, we want to test that we can talk into the meeting and that we're getting input. You can see already that I have a level meter going, so we can be pretty sure that it's at least picking up my microphone, but we want to hear what it sounds like, make sure everything's okay. So what you can do first off is there's a drop-down menu where I can select different audio devices. Again, I have my interface, but I'm just going to be using the built-in microphone of my laptop. And I can test that. What's going to happen is when I click test, it's going to record a bit, so then I'll talk into it, and then it's going to play that back for me so I can hear how I sound. So here we go, we're testing, it's recording this bit. This is a test 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can wait for it to play back. So here we go, we're testing, it's recording this bit. This is a test 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and there you go, we could hear ourselves. Obviously the sound is a little subpar. You know, what you guys are hearing in this video recording is coming from my interface and an external microphone that I have set up. So if you do have that set up, or you have a headset, which I would highly recommend, you could select that option. Even if you have something like AirPods or something, they have a built-in microphone. It'd probably be better than your laptop audio. For now, if you don't have those things, know that you can just go with the internal microphone of your computer and that you should be totally fine. For these settings down here, I would just leave it for very basic stuff like that on automatically adjust microphone volume. Again, if you're getting more complex using an interface or something like that, you might want that unchecked and to set it yourself, set your input volume yourself. Otherwise, just leave that on automatic. So in this next section, what you can see is that I no longer have video. It's just displaying my name, and that's because down here next to the audio settings, I actually shut my video off. And the reason I'm showing you this is because there might be students who are in low internet bandwidth places. Maybe their internet connection isn't that fast, maybe it's kind of choppy. And so one of the best ways to help themselves is to shut off their video, and that should hopefully make their experience smoother. They'll still be able to hear and communicate. One of the features I wanted to show is manage participants. You can click that down here, and what you get is participants in this meeting. Of course, right now it's only me, but if you had, let's say if this was a class of 30 students, you would have all the students down here. And I think one of the buttons that's especially useful is this mute all. If I were to click that, it'll say current and new participants will be muted. Basically everybody but me, I can mute. Obviously if it's a big class, that's going to be useful. You're probably going to just want to mute everybody. There's a setting, I believe, when you create a meeting to automatically mute people when they enter. Otherwise, you can do it right here. And you'll see there's a setting right here, allow participants to unmute themselves. That's useful so that if they have a question, the student can unmute themselves, ask that question, and then mute themselves again. You also have down here a chat window, so you can open that up. And this is also useful if everyone's muted. So if everyone is muted, they can still type questions here. They can ask you questions. They can also put links here. So if you have a link to a video or a link to a document that you want to send them, you can put it in the chat and then everyone can just click on the link that's right there. All right, so the next part of this video is going to be on share screening. And that's where I'm going to take applications on my screen, whether it be PowerPoint or a PDF document or iTunes, and I'm going to share it with everyone in the meeting so that they can see it and they can hear the audio from it, and they can also annotate and work on it. And this is very useful for most classrooms. If you're music theory classes, music history classes, you're playing back audio, or there's a YouTube clip you want to show, it's a great way to do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom of the screen here, and I'm going to click on Share Screen. And that's going to open a window here. And in this window, what you're going to see is a few different applications that I have open currently. So I have a PowerPoint open, I have iTunes open, and I have a PDF of a score open. You can see some other options up here. For instance, there's a whiteboard where if you want to do some work on a whiteboard, you can share it with students here. I can show you now if I click on whiteboard and hit share. So what you see is this opens up the whiteboard window. And there's a couple of things of note here that's going to be the same no matter what we're sharing. The first is that your options are up here now. They used to be down here for the video. Now they move up here. So you still have your audio options. You can still manage participants. That becomes a expandable window. There's more where you can open up chat. I'd recommend having that open because then students can ask questions and things like that. It's especially helpful if you have two monitors because you can always throw this onto a second monitor. The other thing is you'll notice is that the video popped over here and it's collapsible. And this is the show active speaker. If we were in a meeting right now and there were multiple people, it would just sort of daisy chain us down. So there'd be a long list of people and their videos over here. Obviously, if you're in a huge class, you might just want to collapse it so you don't see them, then keep your chat window open so they can ask questions through that. Alternatively, you can just show the active speaker so that if a student asks a question, hopefully it'll show their video if it picks up their audio well enough. So that's going to be the same no matter what we're sharing. Now this is the whiteboard share where if I want to draw on it and work out problems, I can do that here. You can also write text on it. Things like that. When you want to stop a share, you can come up here and you click on stop share, and we're just going to flip back to the meeting mode. So that's really pretty seamless. Some of the other share screen options that we have here, Microsoft PowerPoint. This is probably a big one if you have slides for your class, or if students are giving a presentation, this is great. So you can share for Microsoft PowerPoint, and it's going to open up the PowerPoint window. And of course you can go and just start your slideshow moment sometimes. And here we are. Now you can actually go through your slides and give your presentation to your class. This is also, you have the ability to annotate this. So while you're on slides, you could still draw and highlight certain things if you wanted to. Do notice that the annotations sort of stick to the screen. So you just have to erase them, or you could just clear them all in one go. Students have the ability to annotate as well. So if they have questions or they want to point out something, they can too. We can stop our PowerPoint. So one of the other ones I want to go over is on sharing a score. So again, I hit share screen. I come down here to a PDF of a score I have locally, and I share that, and now everyone in the meeting is able to see this. One thing to know about sharing scores, this is great so everyone can see it, but if we try and annotate it using Zoom's tools, so for instance, this seems great because I can, analyze it and highlight certain things. The problem is that it sort of sticks to where it is on the screen as opposed to being part of the PDF. So that's obviously, it's fine if you just want to point out something really quick, but it doesn't really work when you start scrolling down through the PDF. So I'm going to clear that. It's probably possible, depending on what PDF viewer you have, that PDF viewer might have some built-in functions. So you can see here I can try and draw around stuff, and now that will actually stick. This is just the built-in annotation of this PDF viewer. I'm sure there's other applications you could use. Again, you just take those applications, you share screen them, and then you can work in them. The cool thing about the annotations, your students would have that capability. So if your students have a question, they could always quickly grab the Zoom tools, and then they can highlight something. You'll just want to clear them before you move around. That's it for PDF scores. All right, for this next part of the video, I want to show you how to share music through either YouTube or through iTunes with your students. It's going to be the same pretty much as the other share screens, except there's going to be one setting that you have to make sure you hit every time you do it. So again, we're going to go down to the bottom, we're going to hit share screen, and I have open in the background here, I have YouTube, just in any browser, and I have iTunes open. So we can start with YouTube. Normally you would just hit share if it's another screen, but one thing you want to check if you're going to share computer audio is that down here in the bottom left, there's this share computer sound. And normally that's unchecked. And what will happen is if I share this screen without that checked, none of the audio from this is going to be played over your meeting. And I can show you that now. I can hit share. All right, so my windows come up here with this clip that I want to play for class, and if I hit play, so this audio that's playing right now in this YouTube clip is not being shared across the meeting. And it's possible, depending on how you have your audio settings, your inputs and your outputs, that you're able to hear it on your side, but that is not being sent across the meeting. So just be careful of that. You can always obviously check with your students, ask them if they can hear it. But if that share computer setting isn't selected, then most likely they can't. I'm going to stop that share. Where to go again? Share screen. Now when I share it and I hit play, you can hear that the audio is now playing through the meeting. This is going to be the same if we're using iTunes. So I can stop that and close that window out. Hit share screen again. Share my iTunes. And here we are. I have a little playlist here, and I can play that. Stop that. And that's basically it. That's all there is for sharing iTunes. You can do this with Windows Media Player or any other music software you may have. So the last part I want to go over here is on recordings. Zoom has a really nice built-in feature to allow you to record all of your classes. And then because of its integration we have with Canvas, you can then upload those classes to Canvas so that your students can review them later. Again, like most of these things, you want to check the preferences, the settings for your recording. So we'll go to Zoom Preferences, and on the side here you're going to find Recording. If I click on that, there's going to be a few options here that are just check marks. We don't necessarily need to be concerned with too many of those. The one you do want to look at is where it's storing your recordings. And so what I've done is I've made a specific folder on my hard drive for these recordings. And you can see here that these are past ones that I've made in Zoom, and it names it by the date and time and also the event. You can see you're getting a recording here that's an MP4 and an audio recording. So you get video and you get audio. You're going to want to make a dedicated folder, in that way you don't have to think about it. You know, every time you make a recording in Zoom, it's saving those videos and those audio recordings to that folder. You can go find them later and upload it or send it to students. You have an option here to record a separate audio file for each participant. You probably don't need to check that. That's if you're going to go back later and maybe remix it, or you're worried that multiple people are connecting and some people are higher in volume than others, and you want to be able to adjust for that later after the fact. It's probably not really necessary, so I usually leave that unchecked. This one's interesting, optimized for a third-party video editor. This is just going to make sure that it standardizes the format of your recording so that it can be edited down in things like Premiere or Final Cut later. If you're not going to be doing that, don't bother checking that. Timestamp the recording, that's good, that's useful. Record video during screen sharing, yes, definitely for that. That way when you go to share your screen, whether it's for a score or it's your PowerPoint, the video recording is recording that screen share as well. Otherwise, it's just going to be doing the conference video. Great. Once that's all set up, again, you don't really need to go into those settings every single time you use it. That can be a set and forget thing. You're just going to come down here, you hit record. You'll see in the top it's recording. You can even set it up in your preferences to automatically do this. I believe that's a meeting setting. And if you do that, then it's even more automated, where you just have your meetings in your classes and it'll always be recording to that folder. But for now, we did it manually. I can stop that. It says it will be converted to MP4 when the meeting ends. Great. And that's how you do recordings. All right, that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone in the Distance Learning Recording Arts program. We're also going to be uploading a bunch of other resources to Canvas. Feel free to check out those. And we're also working on a video, as I mentioned, on more advanced settings for audio and music recording in Zoom. So look for that as well.